it all starts with your feet, Rob.
Other mountain regions are available.
Yeah.
Here's some blissful advice, right? Careful with that Swiss chocolate because it can melt, unfortunately. That's such a pain.
What do people do without listening to the YR podcast? That's what
I don't know. If anyone's going to take anything, just one thing out of this podcast, it's going to be Googling sheet.
Inside backpacks, inside backpacks, inside backpacks.
So Schloss is the... Oh yeah, we do love a backpack.
We all love a backpack.
No one's ever discovered the fact that wearing a cap might keep water out of your eyes. Get the socks.
Definitely.
Don't eat for the day if you have to.
So, welcome to the second edition of the Whiteout Podcast Summer Sessions, Rob. Episode 2. I'm Dom Killinger. I'm from In the Snow magazine. I'm here with my co-host, as we've said, Rob Stewart, who seems to enjoy talking about all things summer activity based on the first episode, Rob, just a couple of weeks ago. Here comes the sun, Rob.
Our little darling. Well, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter, Tom.
Oh, maybe not so lonely for you, Rob. But...
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say, it's all right.
Oh, I love that. Sun, 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 here it comes.
Oh, God, Rob, stick to the drums, please.
Yeah, thanks, Dom. Yeah, I try, but you know me. I like to burst into song or pull out the odd instrument here and there.
Yeah, you definitely like to pull out the odd instrument, Rob. You're a bit of a Ron Burgundy with his jazz flute.
Yes, the legend of the Anchorman. Yeah, I like that, but yeah, no, I couldn't possibly play that in this packed restaurant. I think this musical intro, though, I think we should keep it for the summer podcast. What do you think? There's so many songs with a summer theme.
Yeah, well, Summer Holiday, Cliff Richard comes to mind.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Released in February 1963. That song.
Oh, wow.
They were definitely thinking ahead in those days, I guess, releasing a song in February about the summer.
Yeah, well, we need to think ahead too, Rob. So let's get on to what's playing on our record this week. What have we got lined up for this week's summer episode of the Whiteout Podcast?
Yeah, fair point. I mean, all this musical rambling to get us in the mood, but it's down to business. Yeah, we have news, both summer and winter mountain related, of course. Good. Our activity focus today is hiking, and
nice.
We are talking about Salzburgerland as a mountain destination. Nice. And then the bucket list this week is Georgia, the country of Georgia, that is.
Well, I remember the winter one that we did on Georgia, and that was very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to hearing about it as a summer destination. That sounds great. So what's up first on the news agenda? What do we got?
Yeah, what's up, Dom? You go on, you take it away. It away.
Well, let's do a little bit of winter news first. So whilst there's some alpine destinations I've had to delay the start of the summer skiing season because of too much snow, would you believe? The ski fields in Australia and New Zealand are still waiting for the start of their season, although places such as Cardrona in New Zealand's South Island have seen some snowfall, so that's good. But a little bit of a delay there.
Yeah, we're not quite there with NZ skiing, but I think that's normal for this time of year, but they are waiting for snow. I'd expect sort of mid-June to be the kicking off point there. Yeah, hopefully in Australia as well, but they're still waiting for snow. What about in South America?
Oh, South America. I've got to get to South America, Rob. I do love
me too.
The thought of getting to South America. So, well, there is some snowfall there. They're now opening up the likes of Portillo and Valle de Nevado, which the latter has just announced a link up with the neighbouring La Pava. So they're creating the largest resort in the Southern Hemisphere, which is pretty impressive. So both resorts are high altitude, purpose-built, about an hour away from the capital city of San Diego. So, yeah, definitely that has to be, I mean, it really is South America, and skiing in South America or summer in South America, definitely on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, and that link up sounds amazing. I mean, Chile and Argentina are definitely both on my bucket list ski destinations. Should we just dump summer here, what we've got of it, and just head over there, Dom? I mean, do that and then hop over to New Zealand too. I mean, it's not like summer's looking like a classic, right?
It's definitely not. I'm looking out the window at the minute, and in the words of the Northern Irish, it is blowing a founder, Rob. It is freezing out there today, so we can dream on. But what else is happening on the winter front at the moment?
Yeah, well, there's been a headline out there about US skier numbers dropping by 5% last winter. But I think when you drill down into that data, it was still the 5th best season ever for the industry in terms of numbers. So I don't think it's all bad news, really.
Yeah, and I guess some of their skiers are probably heading over to Europe now, I guess, because some of their passes now,
Yeah, I think that's true. So, Plus the COVID bounce back last winter, it drove numbers right up. So 50% of skiers in the US are using season passes as well. And that doesn't include like seasonal workers. So it's a huge number.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll see that model heading over here too, over towards Europe. So yeah,
A
definitely.
little bit. Yeah.
What else is there, Rob?
A few snippets from the recent Ski Club Great Britain survey on the state of the UK market. I mean, basically, we are now back up to the 95% numbers-wise compared to pre-pandemic seasons. France is still the number one in terms of the destinations we go to for skiing. But Switzerland's seeing the most growth right now. Catered chalet market has declined, though, with more people staying in 3- and 4-star hotels. And interestingly, just to add to that, I've seen a headline in today's newspapers saying that the pound is at like, I think, a 5-year high against the euro, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Certainly a high against the euro. So, yeah.
And I guess the chalet market declining, but I mean, there's less of them around, isn't there? I mean, yourself, you visit some of these websites, it used to be all catered chalets and it's just not anymore. So I guess that's partly to blame.
I think you're right. I think that's definitely driving those stats, that the availability isn't there. So I completely agree. Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's get on to the sunnier side of the news, because that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. The chance of anything sunnier would be lovely, Rob. But yeah, let's get stuck in. So one of the most popular destinations for summer holidays in the Alps is, of course, the Portes du Soleil area, which includes the likes of Morzine, Avoriaz, Leger, Châtel, on the French side of the border. So the lift network connects hikers, bikers to a massive summer playground. Love that area. You know it really well, Rob. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really fantastic region, and there's a number of events happening too. So let's maybe highlight some of those, shall we?
Yeah. Let's kick off with the Pass Portes du Soleil, a 3-day festival of mountain biking. All levels of people can do that, actually, across the whole area. It runs from 28th to the 30th of June. And then shortly after that, on the 6th and 7th of July, the Savoie Mont Blanc Freestyle Tour by FISE hits Avoriaz. So that's nice. Yeah. All takes place in the skate park and sees pros compete in skateboarding, roller skating, freestyle, scootering, all that very cool stuff that I wouldn't say I'm too old to do, but I tell you, the last time I went on a skateboard, Rob, it was pretty terrifying. You'd have to ask one of my daughters about it because it was bordering on hilarious. But I do love a longboard. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I you know what? My daughter got into skateboarding a couple of years ago, and I just watched, and I think I'd do the same thing with the freestyle tour in the skate park in Avoriaz. I think watching would be my thing when it comes to skateboarding these days. But on a different theme, Morzine also hosts the Spartan Ultra World Championship, which is 3 days of ultra running on a variety of courses, including a 50K version that includes 60 obstacles, which sounds very intense. That runs from July the 5th to 7th as well. So if you're into those kind of ultra marathons, that could be one to look out for.
Yeah, I know a few people into those. That fills me with dread, the idea of that. But
yes.
Also around the same time, so July 4th to July 7th, just over in Leger, the Mountain Biking World Cup event takes place with both downhill and cross country. So that's obviously a lot of fun over there in Leger. It's the 3rd year in a row that Leger has held that event. So yeah, bully for them. That's really good. Yeah,
it's a big event for Leger. There's more events going on, but it does slow down as you go into mid-July and into August as the peak season kicks in. Yeah. But there's always, there's always availability during the summer months, I'd say, in the area, even though it's becoming more and more popular over the past few years. But, you can always get accommodation even in the peak season. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Any other news, Dom?
Well, this is a bit of a different one. Sounds like a great idea. It's a bike delivery service to your mountain chalet. So I thought that was quite cool.
Nice.
Obviously, cycling's well on the up, especially in France, and up by nearly 31%, would you believe, according to the latest figures from France Velo Tourism. So chalet rental specialist, OVO Network, and we had a chalet from them last year, which was extremely beautiful. They have teamed up with bike rental company Bicyclette to offer guests a 5% discount on bike hire and accessories from big brands such as Scott and Aperturas. So Bicyclette offers delivery of the rental bikes directly to over 200 of the OVO Network chalets across the French and the Swiss Alps. So yeah, good bunch of services there that they offer, including private cycle guides, van support, airport transfers. Yeah, it's got to be a great idea. That
I like the idea of it. I mean, I checked it out actually, that one, and so some example prices. You got 7 nights rental at the Actuel Velo accredited chalet Marinaca in Manigold. Just That's just close to that fake Tour de France climb, the Col de la Coifferie. So €1,890 for up to 11 guests for that week. So anyway, you can check that out at the overnet.com website and link that in with your bike rental service as well. So it's quite a cool idea.
Yeah, nice. Very good. So what else have we got, Rob?
Oh, yeah. A quick mention of two of the outdoor trade events. First one is the Outdoor Trade Show, or OTS, in Liverpool from June 18th to 20th, coming up quite soon. Largest outdoor equipment trade event in the UK. It is for trade only. It's not a consumer event like the Snow Show, for example. But I'll be heading up there to Liverpool's exhibition centre in a couple of weeks' time to check out all that new kit for next summer. It's very exciting. So more info on that, if you're a trade member, is available at outdoortradeshow.com.
Okay, and on the same sort of vein of trade shows as well, as the second edition of Outdoor and Social, which I know you went to last year in March, Rob, where you camped out in a cold field for a few nights. And the second edition of that event has been announced, taking place from March the 11th to the 13th in Edale. So yeah, very cool outdoor event that's designed to train retailers all in one place on outdoor gear. So I like the sound of that. Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great event in March. I mean, I'll try and make it again next March. It's bang in the middle of the peak skiing season, so it's tricky dates-wise. But we'll be bringing our listeners a little bit more information about this event later in the summer, because I interviewed some of the sort of leading members of the outdoor industry there, including Andrew Denton, who's the CEO of the Outdoor Industries Association. He's also founder of the brand Mountain Equipment. So really interesting guy. We've got quite a few interviews from that event. So we'll definitely be bringing those to the White Summer podcast on.
Sounds very good. And one thing he would definitely done lots of over the years, Rob, is hiking, which is our activity focus for this edition of the Whiteout podcast.
Yeah, no, it is. And, you know, we know from recent data that 72%, like a stat, don't we, of people say that they go to the mountains during the summer for hiking.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I guess it's such a broad term, hiking, but let's start by saying when we're talking about hiking, what we generally mean is a walk, right? Within one day from your base or accommodation. And it starts and finishes in the same place, whilst we might use the term trekking to describe a longer walk that might include a route over a number of days and is point to point. So, you know, staying in multiple accommodation locations, for example, which might include a mountain hut.
Yeah.
Exactly. It could include staying in a town or a village, but, you know, it's a trek is a multi-day hike.
Well, I'm going to do a hike to the pub at lunchtime.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds nice.
Yep. Great thing about hiking is accessibility, Rob. So, for many people, different ages, different family members, fitness levels, great health benefits, as we all know. So, lots of studies out there about the cardiovascular health and blood pressure improvements that can be made just by regular hiking. So, yeah, definitely. And obviously, mental health benefits as well, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point. And there's a good website, actually, to check out. It's called ramblers.org.uk. It's actually a charity, but they've got a walking hub that specifically goes into the health benefits, you know, in quite a lot of detail about walking and hiking, and it's got some great advice on how to start up as well. So that's a good one to check out. Ramblers.
Yeah, and obviously, like any outdoor sport, there's gear to consider. And with hiking or trekking, that's the best bit, isn't it? The gear. It's super important to make sure you do have the right kit, and it all starts with your feet, Rob. Why would it start with your feet?
So important, Dom. I mean, I remember actually a very, very long hike I started a few years back. Like, I mean, I'm talking an 18-hour non-stop hike. It was really stupid. But one of my companions, they got blisters within the first 30 minutes, just done. He just got the setup wrong. He had to stop and abandon this 18-hour hike within the first 30 minutes. I mean, I got blisters as well. You can't avoid them if you're doing something like that length in one go. Bit silly. But as a one-off. It wasn't obviously until much later in the day. So here's some blister advice, right? Blister advice.
This is the big section of the Whiteout podcast this month. Everyone, this is blister section.
Come to us for your blister advice.
Blister advice.
Two skiers, you know, here we go, right? Comments down below, please.
Yeah, exactly. Blister advice 1, Rob. Let's go.
Okay. Right, it's not rocket science, okay? So just buy the best walking boots you can afford, basically, and make sure they are waterproof, right? And breathable. That's really important because it's the breathability and keeping the moisture out away from your feet that's so important when it comes to blisters, right? Obviously, break them in. You know, I know boots. You don't have to break boots in like you used to, the old leather boots. You'd have to break them in. I don't mean break them in like that. It's a bit like running a car in these days. It's not the same. But, you know, you still should wear them multiple times for short walks before you attempt any kind of long distance hikes.
Yeah.
Any long distance hike, I should say. There are schools of thought on the ankle support, but I would say, you know, definitely get boots with ankle supports for longer hikes or multi-day treks. And these days, they can obviously also be very, very light and breathable.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, the other thing that's just as important as the boots or shoes themselves are the socks, because I'm big into my socks, Rob, as you know, and I would say spend as much, get the best you possibly can to justify, and always have a spare pair of socks as well. So blisters can occur really quickly if your feet get damp and if they get sweaty. It's a big reason for nasty blisters. So keeping your feet dry is probably the most important part of hiking, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, maybe worth mentioning the soles on the boots as well. Different soles for different types of hiking. General for shorter hikes on easier terrain, like a more flexible sole is fine. But for longer treks, especially on rougher terrain, you really want a stiffer sole for support. You know, a brand like Vibram, famous brand. It's one of the most well known, but it's worth doing some research.
Yeah, definitely. So let's have a look at some of the other essential gear you should be thinking about when you're going hiking or trekking. So in this case, we're basing our kit list on, like, I don't know, hiking in the Alps in the summertime. So obviously different times of year might need different types of kit, but let's focus on that sort of broad area of hiking in the Alps during the summer. What do you think? Yeah,
okay. All right. Well, let's start with some shoes then. And I'm going to pick a brand here, which is Salomon. Lots of other brands are available, but Salomon do a large range of hiking shoes for men and women. They include sort of lightweight shoes or full-on boots. I mean, they've got a big range. I get on with them pretty well. They seem to fit my feet quite nicely. So it's one of the reasons I've mentioned them. I suppose I've used them quite a bit. I've also used the brand Keen quite a bit, and I really like them as well. They're excellent walking boots. Again, there's lots of choice, but for lightweight day hikes, on warm days, you know, on sort of decent, well-marked paths, I picked out the Salomon X Ultra 360. I think a pretty good choice, £140 for those kind of day hikes, lightweight, fast-moving walks.
I actually do have those trainers, and they
do you?
They're great. Yeah, they're starting to. I've had them for a few years, and they're starting to show a bit of sign of wear. But they have been absolutely great. Really been pleased with those, and I used those when we were out in Jungfrau as well. So yeah, really nice. Those.
Okay, yeah. And you said the word trainer, so just be like, I mean, they aren't full ankle boots. You know, they are more like a trainer and look, but they're designed for walking.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, no ankle support on those, but they are. Yeah, really like those. But great grip and really nice. So. And then the other
else is there?
Waterproofs are an essential item too, especially on multi-day treks, because obviously the weather can change quickly, especially if you are in the mountains and you need to be prepared for that. So we're talking shell jackets and trousers here, no insulation needed, and you want to keep the weight down as much as possible. So just use layers. Lots of great brands, but waterproofs and breathability are obviously pretty crucial. And generally you want to think about something at least on the rating of 20/20 or even better 30/30. Something like the Helly Hansen Verglas Infinity Shell Jacket. They're £400, but I did take a sneak peek before we came on here, and hellyhansen.com has got them on at £280 at the minute instead of the £400. Okay. So that's pretty damn good deal. Yeah. And also the Verglas Micro Shell Pant 2 that can be packed away in a backpack and bought out if you need it. So it's a nice and packable, and that's £120 on the Helly Hansen site too. So it's worth looking at for sure.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about summer hiking here, but obviously if you're in the mountains, you need those waterproofs, right? It's just something you need in your backpack.
We love a backpack.
Oh yeah, we do love a backpack.
We all love a backpack.
Yeah, gosh, definitely love a backpack, and it's nice to have a choice of multiple sizes of backpacks in your wardrobe to pick out. Yeah. I mean, a small day pack or a larger pack, you know, for multi-day treks. You know, one thing to always remember: the larger the pack, the more you'll fill it. I mean, it's one of these strange unknown phenomena. I've used Osprey quite a bit as a brand. I've used Evoc a bit as a brand over the years. I find them both work. They both work very well. And then I picked out the Osprey Talon 44, which is a great multi-day trekking pack, and it costs £185. And you can check that out on osprey.com.
Love it. Like the sound of that.
Yeah, just pick that one out.
Lots of backpacks stacked inside backpacks, inside backpacks, under a bed downstairs, and Very cool. So I do love my backpacks, Rob. And what about trekking poles? I've not got into the trekking poles yet, but I'm feeling the urge at the minute. I'm feeling the urge of a trekking pole. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's two schools of thought on trekking poles. I mean, I like using them, and I even like using just one actually. But then the brands tell me it's not great to have only one. But I mean, two is much better for various reasons. I mean, I guess they would say that, but yeah, I think I get it. I do get it.
Well,
The
I
reasons
guess
why you
two
would have
poles
to.
is generally the way to go for longer mountain treks.
Yeah.
It gives you that sort of stability and balance, especially on that rocky terrain. I've not got into it, but it's definitely something that's on my radar at the minute. And it shows that stress on the knees and hips is reduced by 20 to 30%, not suggesting that my age is needing less stress on my hips and knees. So if you use trekking poles, they say reduce that by 20 to 30%. So that can really help. Brands that we work with, such as Leki, Black Diamond, they look very good for that sort of stuff. So if you look at the Leki Micro Vario Carbon, super light, 240 grams, and can pack down super small as well. So they're £170 per pair from Leki.com.
Nice. Yeah, I think they're a must-have for these longer treks as well, and especially in the mountains. So, right, I'm going to run down a few other essentials, including hiking socks. Don't compromise, like we said. There's tons of good brands, but I've just got hold of some UYN. That's UYN, Unleash Your Nature, merino trekking socks. I mean, they're really nice. They are £30, so they're not cheap. But again, those decent socks. And I'd say number one priority. Like if you're going to go on long hikes, £30 is going to make your life so much better, right? You're going to spend that on one little mountain restaurant lunch for yourself. So just the socks, get the socks.
Definitely.
Don't eat for the day if you have to. It's like just the socks are gonna be better for you. No, obviously do eat if you're going on long hikes. I'm not advising you don't eat. Buy the socks.
I need to get hold of a pair of those UYN Merino trekking socks for sure, because I'm big into socks, and it's the same for skiing. Same advice, isn't it? Don't just buy the best socks you can afford, spend as much as you possibly can. So a few other things for the kit bag includes decent water bottle, sun cream, super important, or a hat or a cap, especially if you've got slightly thinning hair, which obviously is not something or maybe it is something I'm worried about now. I'm looking in the camera. And perhaps a smartwatch like a Garmin or a Suunto can be very useful. And it's also nice to go out and buy a new gadget.
That is true. And I do like a cap. I will walk in a baseball cap because of the visor, actually. It's the visor. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
And if it rains, if it rains and you put that waterproof jacket on, you've got a big hood a lot of the time on these jackets. And if you've got a cap on, it stops the hood from going down into your eyes. And it also stops the rain from going in your eyes, right? So that's why the cap is a good idea.
That's great advice. What do people do without listening to the YR podcast? That's what I don't know.
I don't know. There's no one's ever discovered the fact that wearing a cap might keep water out of your eyes. I mean, just imagine that. I have spent a lot of time in rain. A map and a compass is a good idea as well. As well as your flashy watch. I mean, I get the flashy watch, but ideally both. I mean, I'd wear a lightweight base layer top often if I'm walking in the mountains as well, because it breathes. It's quick drying, and a fleece in the backpack always. Like, it doesn't matter how hot you wake up in the morning. It's going to be 30 degrees today. Yeah, don't go out in a t-shirt and don't bring anything else with you. That's bring the fleece, bring the waterproofs. If you're doing multi-day trips, of course, it depends where you're staying overnight in terms of what you need. But mountain huts, a lot of the time, have everything you need for food, but obviously you need to check that with the individual hut that you're going to. Again, with bedding, same thing, check with the huts, because they do vary, and some might have bedding, some might not. You might need a sleeping bag, some you might not in others. I'd always say a pillowcase is a useful thing to throw into a backpack, whatever they say. Definitely a good thing to have.
So it's a good little kit round up there, Rob. It's fair to say I always throw in some snacks into my backpack too, because I'm one of those people who eat little and often, especially when I'm exerting myself in these big treks.
Yes, but careful with that Swiss chocolate because it can melt, unfortunately. That's such a pain.
Not in the British weather.
In the summer, in the winter, Swiss chocolate in your backpack, always have it. But in the summer, Swiss chocolate in your backpack, And then, ugh.
Well, with Swiss chocolate in mind, Rob, let's take a look at some of the classic hiking routes in our where to section, where to go hiking. So firstly, just want to mention news out of a new long distance circular hiking trail in Portugal that has just been announced, and on completion within the next few years will total around 3,000 kilometers. How cool is that? It's called the Palmilar, the word for walking in Portugal. So that sounds pretty
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'd love to do that. Portugal, lovely country. I'm sure, hiking to those little Portuguese towns and having that lovely food. Close to home in the UK, I'm going to mention the classic Pennine Way that starts in Edel. That's actually the location for that outdoor and social event we mentioned before.
Yep.
And it ends right on the Scottish border. And that's over 260 miles of walking through the north of England. I mean, I've done some sections of it and it is absolutely spectacular in parts, especially considering how close you are sometimes to those sort of large areas of population as well. So yeah, amazing Pennine Way.
Pretty cool. So we also have to mention the Tour of Mont Blanc too, a real classic trek around Mont Blanc, typically starting in Chamonix or more specifically Les Ouches, heads over the Italian border into Courmayeur and then over into Switzerland through Champex-Lac and then back around into France through Argentière. So it's just over 100 miles in total, although that can vary a little depending on the route that you take. So that's a very cool little trek as well.
Yeah, that's one on my list. I've been to all those places on the route, but never strung it all together in a walk. It'd be so nice to do. Further afield, I think it's worth mentioning a couple of North American classics like the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. I'd love to do a little bit of that, but it's over 2,000 miles in length. So that's kind of lifetime's work, isn't it? To do the whole thing. West Coast Trail on Vancouver Island, I have heard a lot about. Again, never been there. It's a mere 47 miles, but I think it covers some incredible terrain. Really spectacular.
I think that's absolutely beautiful over on Vancouver Island there. And then if you fancy Asia as well, it's worth checking out the Annapurna Trail in Nepal, which is well over 100 miles and circumnavigates the 8,000 meter Annapurna Peak. Or for something a little more mellow, maybe the Kamana Kodo is a network of ancient pilgrimage trails actually in the Kii Peninsula in Japan. So sacred sites, including the 3 grand shrines of Kumano. So
wow,
here we go. You ready for this pronunciation? The Nakahechi route. Nakahechi.
I'm glad you've got this bit.
I always get this bit. The Nakahechi route is the most popular.
That's good.
43 miles through forested mountains. Sounds amazing. That traditional villages, historic shrines. Love the sound of that. That sounds so cool.
I do as well. I mean, that just sounds brilliant, doesn't it? I'd love to go to Japan and that walk. I was definitely on my radar now. I didn't know about it, but I'm going to check it out. Right, on to our destination feature for this week, Dom, and we're going to take a look at the Austrian region of Salzburg or Salzburgerland, which is basically, a large playground of, I'm going to say, alpenness.
Alpine.
I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it. Alpenness.
That's a good word. That needs to get into the Alpine dictionary, skiing dictionary. The Alpine mountain region is close to the city of Salzburg, which in itself is a beautiful place to go to for sure. And on top of that, you've got a fabulous alpine landscape with lakes and flower meadows and forests. It's just absolutely stunning. So several national parks, loads of other attractions, salt mines, castles, literally just anything you can think of. Actually, it's a beautiful, beautiful area. Enchanting villages dotted around the region. It's lovely for sure. Not even being paid to say that. Should be being paid to say that, but not.
Yeah, we should be really. That would be good. I found quite a cool new bike experience in this area too, Dom.
Okay.
It's the new Salzburgerland gravel tour, launched in May. Gravel bikes, they've gained in popularity over the years amongst cyclists. They've got this blend of on and off-road riding. They look a little bit like road bikes, but the tires are adapted and the frames are a bit chunkier. There's 2 routes that can take between 5 and 7 days. One's called the Die Hard, which is the hard one. That's what they say, the hard, or Die Zart, the soft one. Both starting and finishing in Salzburg. So, obviously for different levels, there's a 1-day cycling excursion option as well. And you can find routes on Komoot.com. Don't know if you heard of that app, Dom, called Komoot, KOMOOT.com. It's basically a pretty cool sort of online map system and app, and that's got programmed routes in.
Nice. It's like the sound of that. Definitely be looking that up. So one of the region's highlights in the Salzburg Almenweg, the Alpine Pastures Trail, 350 kilometer, 25-stage trail. So awesome views of the incredible Austrian peaks, including Austria's highest, the Grossglockner. You get right into the heart of the Pongal region with 120 alpine pastures along the way, plus a whole load of quaint villages and mountain huts too. So it really is worth paying us to say that it's amazing, because it is absolutely gorgeous. A little hint there for anybody from Salzburg tourism, just in case.
I mean, I genuinely, I've been to that region in the winter quite a bit, and it's really, really lovely.
It is,
and yeah, I mean, Salzburg tourism, I'd love to go there in the summer. There's always a number of events and festivals taking place as well, which we've come to expect from sort of mountain destinations. They love their events, but this summer in Salzburgerland, first off, there's the 100. Is that the one? No, it's not 100. I mean, it's right. There's the 1,100th anniversary of St. Wolfgang of Regensburg at Wolfgangsee for the reopening of the so there's that one, and there's also the reopening of Rosewood. Don't tell me that you don't get the tough ones to pronounce. So Schloss is the German Austrian word for castle, of course. I mean, what more would you want, though, than to celebrate old St. Wolfie? You think we can call him that?
Yeah, well, you might
Over
get
1,000-year-old.
Ray, maybe rather you than me, but I'm going to stick with the yoga, because enthusiasts can indulge in the Union Yoga Festival in Gastein this summer, but also more adventurers can take part in the Adidas Terex Infinite Trails running weekend and traditional sheep drives. Wow.
Traditional sheep drives. I mean, what the hell is that?
Use your imagination, Rob.
Yeah, sounds a bit woolly to me, but I will investigate.
You are such a dad joke. Okay, well, just be careful if you're going to Google it, Rob, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's stick to mountains, because over in Leogang, visitors there can reconnect with nature on a new forest bathing hiking trail, which the area also celebrates its designation as a UCI bike region with the WHOOP, that's WHOOP, UCI Mountain Bike World Series event that's taking place there. And if music is more your cup of tea, then check out the Jazz Festival in Saalfelden. It's now in its 44th year. Amazing.
Wow. Very cool. So heading back to the city, because Salzburg sets the stage for some impressive cultural events, that's for sure, with the likes of the Salzburg Festival of Drama and Music and the avant-garde theatre and dance performances of Sommerseen Salzburg. Yep. So yeah, that's worth looking up for sure.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Don't miss the Dom Cartier Museum's exhibition, The Colours of La Serenissima, making it its 10th anniversary. Yeah. So in the Dom Cartier Museum.
Well, yeah, they even have a museum named after you, Dom. I mean, I know you've been there a lot over the years, but the PR people really love you there, don't they? It's quite impressive to have that named after you. Although the courtier bit worries me a bit, actually. Well, it should worry you anyway, I'd say.
Well, maybe I need to actually visit this place to see. It sounds pretty incredible anyway. Yeah. Sounds like fun. So we're back to the start now then, darling and little darling.
Yeah. Right. I think I'm going to go back to Googling sheep at this point, Dom.
Right. I'm steering this back on track. Come on. So with convenient access via road, rail or air, Salzburgerland has 16 regions, all easily reached within a couple of hours of the historic city of Salzburg. So home to Mozart, the renowned summer festival and iconic sound and music film locations. It is definitely a place to visit. So discover the beauty of Salzburg this summer, I'd say. Rob, what do you think?
Just like a true forest office representative there, Dom, at the end. No, I mean, I must say I've really enjoyed skiing in Salzburgerland over the years when I've been there. That, legendary ski racing towns such as Altenmark, pretty cool. Yeah. Haven't been in the summer though, so it's definitely that time to try that one. More info is available online at salt.com. Other mountain regions are available, and we have not been paid to say any of this.
Exactly. It's incredible. They are going to be proud of us, aren't they? They're going to be proud of us. So what else we got? On to our bucket list destinations. So this week, we are going to transport our listeners to the very country of Georgia, where the Transcaucasian Trail cuts right through that country. Georgia, Rob. So not to be confused with the US state, of course. This one's nestled at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, right in rich in history, breathtaking landscapes, superb location. It's worth mentioning that it is on the border with Russia, but things are pretty stable generally there, although they have had some political unrest recently.
Yeah, I guess we have to mention that. I mean, I've been there a few times and I've always felt comfortable and safe in Georgia when I've been there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the roads are interesting, but the rest of it's fine. Anyway, the Trans-Caucasian Trail, or TCT, it's a long distance hiking trail that's been making waves, in the hiking community for quite a while now.
Yeah.
It's aiming to connect the varied and frankly, incredible landscapes of the Caucasus region, the mountains of the Caucasus, including Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan.
Sounds pretty special, that. So what can we expect from that trail itself then, Rob? Do you know it?
Well, I've been in the region during the winter. I mean, the Georgian section of the TCT spans roughly 1,500 kilometers. It takes hikers through some of the most spectacular and diverse terrain. I mean, in the world, I could literally say that. I mean, from these like lush green valleys and dense forests to alpine meadows and rugged, really amazing mountain peaks, bigger than the Alps. I mean, this trail's got it all. It's amazing.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
The views must be incredible. So what are the highlights or the must-see sections then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the major highlights is the Svaneti region. I mean, it's often referred to as the gem of the Caucasus. It's famous for sort of these medieval stone towers and very traditional villages in the Svaneti region. I mean, the whole valley, the whole region is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And, you can kind of immerse yourself in this local culture that's completely unique. I mean, it is amazing. There's nothing else on earth. You sometimes feel like you're in the set of the Lord of the Rings movie, basically.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds like a good step back in time. So what about logistics? So are they well-marked trails, and what sort of accommodation can you expect? And what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, good question. So again, it's still a work in progress, this trail, but significant sections in Georgia, they're well marked and maintained. Definitely, it's sort of down to teams of dedicated volunteers, local organizations. For the accommodation side, I mean, it does vary in more developed areas like Svaneti, because it's quite, it has been developed for tourism there a little bit, still relatively out the way, but hikers can find guest houses and homestays, those kind of places to stay. There's no big hotels or anything like that. In the more remote sections, you've got to camp at the end of the day. It's pretty sort of wilderness experience stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. So do you have to be super fit? Have I got to be like svelte?
I mean, it's definitely geared towards more experienced hikers. The terrain can be quite tough. There's steep ascents, descents. It's pretty alpine in style, I'd say. Yeah. But that said, there's sections suitable for different skill levels. And if you're not up for that sort of multi-week trek, you can still enjoy sort of shorter, more manageable sections of the trail as well.
Okay, that's good to know. So any tips for someone planning to hike the TCT in Georgia then? What are the hot tips?
Yeah. I mean, prepare thoroughly. Obviously, this is not a trail where you could just wing it. Make sure you've got a good map and a GPS device. Yeah. Local maps are available as well. They can be a bit hit and miss though in terms of accuracy. So, consider hiring a local guide or going with a tour group, especially for those less well-marked sections. Yeah. So, their knowledge obviously is invaluable. Really, a guide is recommended. Yeah.
And what about time of year? Because obviously you don't want to be hitting it right when it's like the peak of the heat sort of thing. What sort of time of the year is best for it?
Well, it's mountainous, so best time is generally from late June to early October, and the weather's more stable. Yeah. Higher mountain passes are free of snow. Early summer can still be a bit wet in that region, bit like the Alps. Actually, early summer can be a bit wet. Late September can bring the first snows. It's very high, so timing is key.
Yeah, and I bet there's some pretty cool wildlife. Are there some cool animals there?
Yeah, amazing. I mean, you can encounter everything from sort of wild boars to deer, eagles, even maybe the elusive Caucasian leopard. It's always good to be aware and take precautions, especially in the more remote areas. I mean, there's bears. I experienced a wolf once in the garden of my lodge in Mestia, a town in Svaneti. It was quite funny. The owner came out hurling rocks at it, but I was on a video call with my daughter at the time. So, they seemed to be, it was a sort of a wolf that didn't mind kind of, poking its nose into a garden.
It's crazy. So anything else we need to know about the TCT?
Yeah, I mean, there's a really cool community and, there's a growing network of hikers, volunteers, locals who are very passionate about this trail. They're very welcoming over there. They're very eager to share their knowledge and experiences. So, engaging with that community can definitely sort of help and so you learn a lot as well.
Sounds fantastic. I like the sound of it. So it seems like this Transcaucasian Trail is definitely heading into my bucket list destinations. Another one for my bucket list destinations. I'm not sure. I need to start motoring on through these locations, but interested to see how it develops and links those countries together too. So let's hope things remain stable in that region for sure.
Yeah, if you're looking for a hiking adventure, I'd say that sort of combines that real amazing mountain landscape, natural beauty, rich history. It's a bit of a challenge. Then I think this one's definitely a bucket list tip.
Well, fantastic, Rob. Well, that is an exciting episode. We've covered the gear, the blisters, which don't forget the blisters,
don't forget the blisters,
and the sun cream, and all the different things you need to do for hiking and trekking in the mountains. The end of our episode 2 for this summer mountain episode of the Whiteout podcast. We had some great feedback on the first episode of our summer edition, so hopefully get the same on this second. Do leave your comments on the podcast and make sure you like the episode, leave 5 stars, because that's how people find us. What do you think, Rob? The end of episode 2 for the summer?
Yeah, the end of episode 2. And I think people, if anyone's going to take anything, just one thing out of this podcast, it's not going to be Googling sheep, I hope, but possibly preventing blisters and thinking about ways to do that. I think that's very sensible.
On that note, Rob, I wish you an enjoyable next couple of weeks. Let's hope the weather turns. By the time we speak next, I don't want to be looking out at those grey skies, the wind. I mean, the trees are blowing around like it's the middle of winter. It's pretty awful at the moment. We have had patchy nice days, but literally only patchy. But wishing you an enjoyable next couple of weeks of the summer. And let's hope by next time we speak, we get some blue sky and sunshine.
It's going to happen. And it's June. It's now June. So obviously it's going to happen. I mean, they must know that. They must know, whoever does this weather thing, that it's June.
They've got to know. I've got to go, Rob, because Salzburgerland is ringing me right now on my phone.
Saying, what the hell are you talking about? That was a complete nonsense.
So, yes, listeners, thanks for listening this week. And I hope you enjoyed the episode and look forward to bringing you our summer fabulousness in the next couple of weeks' time. Rob, all the very best. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thanks, Dom. You too. Adios. Have fun.
It's alright.